I'm just going to say it honestly, I look better at 34 than I did at 24. And it's not like I suddenly figured it out or got lucky overnight. If anything, I spent most of my 20s doing exactly what I thought I needed to do. I was working out excessively, I was watching everything I was eating, I was very, very active, but I was still feeling soft, not toned, and uncomfortable in my body. And that has to be literally the worst feeling. Like, forget how you actually look. If you don't feel good in your body, you need to make a change. When I was in this era, I kept thinking, well, I just got to keep doing more. I need to do more workouts. I need to go for more runs. I need to cut more carbs. This must be the secret, right? Also, the diet culture during that time was certainly a lot different than it is now. But this mindset is exactly what kept me stuck for years. So this video is not a glow up fantasy or a before and after highlight reel. I am here today to share with you the actual habits, the things that I changed in my day-to-day, physically and mentally, that made the biggest difference in how I look, feel, and how I literally transformed my entire life. So let's get into the journey. I would say for a majority of my 20s, my goal was just to be skinny. I've said this once and I'll say it again. I am not naturally thin. I am not naturally gifted with that body type where, yes, you have to obviously still eat healthy and work out here and there, and you can just stay small and lean. I am someone who has a little bit more curves on their body. That's just genetically. My mom's like that. Both of my sisters are like that. And there's nothing wrong with that body type. But when I was in my 20s, I did not want to embrace that at all. All I was seeing around me and in the media and the magazines was very thin and tall girls on the runways, all the models, and that is what we looked up to as healthy at that time. So what did I do? I was so focused on the number on the scale. I was so focused on how can I get smaller versus how can I actually reshape my body in a way that makes sense and that is sustainable and realistic to my lifestyle. That was my biggest mistake. When you are trying to just shrink your body, you are not giving your body any shape. So it's really hard to just burn fat if you're not also focused on building muscle, and that was my missing piece. Again, if you've been here and if you've watched my videos, you will know I've talked about how on top of doing my workouts, basically every single day, I was so disciplined, I would go for 5 to 8 kilometer runs. So that's 30 minutes to up to an hour runs 3 to 4 days a week, because that is what I thought would make me skinny. But what I know now is doing those high intensity workouts, focusing on high intensity cardio like running, that is not going to help me change my body in the way that I actually want. I just didn't have the knowledge then. And I think that in general, the landscape has changed a lot in the wellness world, where we now know, and all of the girlies in their 20s now know that we need to be focusing on things like protein, strength training, things that will actually change your body composition. Running for hours is not going to just magically make you skinny overnight. There is a formula that works a lot better than that. So the shift finally happened when I stopped asking how to weigh less and started asking myself how I wanted my body to actually look. That's when I realized I did not need to shrink. I needed to start focusing on building. That is what will change my body shape. And that one little mindset shift alone changed everything. I used to just work out without any real plan. So like most women and girls, I was going to the gym, going to classes, doing just whatever felt right or what my body felt like in that moment without following a plan to actually optimize results. especially females, we do a lot of workout classes. We are in a big Pilates era right now. We're doing mat Pilates, reformer Pilates, hot Pilates, all the things. And whatever workout class you're going to, you are, yes, of course, moving your body, burning the calories, getting in that activity, which is amazing. But if you want to dial in and focus on seeing true results, there is a reason and a method to the madness and why proper training and why people who actually work with professionals see results a lot faster. Lots of you can relate if you have a friend who is working with a personal trainer. They should be, not every personal trainer is maybe doing it the way that they should be, but if you're working with a real professional, they are putting you on a structured plan, which will allow you to get the results quicker. So if your friend is working with that trainer and you're just going to a bunch of workout classes and they are seeing the results faster, that is why. But I know that doing one-on-one training or working with a professional one-on-one obviously can be expensive, which is why it is amazing that there are now so many platforms like my platform Shape that are out there where real trainers, real people who have worked with actual people in real life for a very long time. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I have created a program, a weekly workout schedule that is built with intention and built for people to actually see results. That is very, very important. So once I actually started training with intention, and this is late 20s, early 30s, like 2020 vibes, once I actually was forced to stop doing everything that I was doing in person and go online with my business, although I was giving, my clients so much love and attention with their training, I was taking a little bit of a backseat with my personal workout regime because I was just training 5 to 7 people a day, every single day, and I was tired. So maybe if I had a 30-minute break, I would sneak in something here or sneak in a workout at the end of the day, but I wasn't really following anything so structured myself, which I know it's a little hypocritical. But once I slowed down, 2020 happened, the world shut down. I eventually created my app later in 2020 and created a weekly workout schedule, not only for my members to follow, but that's what I do. That's what I follow as well. That is when everything started to change. I started also combining strength training with Pilates in a way that made sense. Again, before I would do one reformer class a week. I would do a Legree class when I was still living in Toronto and in my 20s, but I was mostly doing strength and conditioning workouts. I didn't do any mat Pilates. But again, once I started to incorporate that strength and Pilates method into my weekly workout split, I started strengthening my body in ways that I did not know were possible. I was now hitting and focusing on different muscle groups, ones that were literally untouched in my body from incorporating that mat Pilates work. And I was also building strength, improving control. My core at 34 is visibly stronger and more defined and toned than ever. And that is all because of the consistent work that I put in week after week, month after month, and now year after year with a proper program. This was one of the hardest but most important shifts. I started eating for results, not for restriction. So what does that mean? I probably eat double the amount of calories that I used to eat because, again, like I said, I was eating as little as possible throughout the entire day just so that I could lose weight. I didn't even realize what a deficit was, whether or not I was in one. Protein wasn't on my radar, it didn't exist. It was only a hyper fixation on carbs and sugar, making sure that I was limiting that as much as possible. And if I did that, I would be the smallest that I could be. But clearly, that was not working. But not only was it not working, living like that is not sustainable. I want to be able to have a piece of chocolate cake on a Tuesday night just because. That chocolate cake on the Tuesday night is not going to ruin my progress when I am eating clean, high protein, high fiber, hitting my macros every single day, or maybe 5 days out of the week for the rest of the week. I call it the 80-20 balance. I really believe that we should not eat clean from Monday to Friday and then binge and go all out on the weekend. I really do think that life happens and there are circumstances all the time. Maybe we have a birthday party on a Thursday, so we're gonna have some drinks and maybe some pizza on a Thursday. Like, what I would do is, even if that birthday party was on the Thursday, I would not indulge and enjoy. So I'm really like actually missing out now on moments in my life just so that I could be skinny and like restrict so that I could be smaller, which again, wasn't working. Now I live in the moment. I am way more balanced with my food, but the more important note on that is that I'm dialed in on my protein and focused on whole foods. When you start eating more protein and eat enough to energize and support your workouts, your body responds in a completely different way. And that's also because you are not in that like fight or flight mode with your body. You're not restricting, you are nourishing your body, and it allows your body to be in a state to optimize everything you are doing. So you'll probably feel stronger in your workouts when you make that shift. And you're going to look a lot more lean and defined without being depleted. So just to give you a little bit of a baseline, a little bit more detail on, you know, what my meals are looking like, I do try to aim for at least 100 grams of protein every single day. I try to have 3 full meals, and because I have 3 full meals versus like just breakfast and dinner or just lunch and dinner, I snack so much less than I did before. I am eating real meals now. I do not have energy crashes or intense cravings. I'm not reaching for the snack drawer like every other hour. I'm not wanting to eat again an hour after my breakfast, and it's because I am building my plate properly, and I'm really focusing again on protein, on fiber. I'm having carbs. I also have a lot of fat in my diet, like good fat, avocado, nuts, all the things, and I'm just not afraid of food. That's what it comes down to. I am fueling my body every single day. I'm treating my body like I love it, and I think that is a major, major change that a lot of women do need to make. Another really simple habit that has been a very big part in my transformation journey is the incorporation of walking in daily steps. I know I talk about this all the time. In fact, a lot of what I'm talking about today I preach and talk about in a lot of my YouTube videos because it's really coming back to the basics and just the foundations. But I never, just like protein wasn't on my radar even a few years ago, daily steps was not on my radar at all. I am fortunate now that I live in the Sunshine State, literally in Florida, where it is nice the entire year, and I can be motivated every single day to go outside and get fresh air and sunlight, all the things, and get my steps in. But for my entire life, up until 3 years ago, I was living in Canada, and winters are really tough there. The seasonal depression is real. I was not motivated for, 9 out of 12 months of the year to get outside and to walk and to get moving. And maybe if I knew then what I know now in terms of the importance of daily steps, maybe I would have made more of an effort. But again, in my 20s, I had no idea the benefit of what increasing your movement throughout your day can do. And that's essentially what walking is all about and why it's so beneficial. It's just the fact that we are taking more time in our day moving our actual bodies. And I get asked all the time, well, like, what about the elliptical, or what about the bicycle? Do things like that count? And again, it is great that you're working out and that you're getting your heart rate up and you are doing activity, but you're not actually, elliptical is a little bit different, but with biking, you're still sitting. So we want to actually physically move from one place, which is why walking is so beneficial. When we are walking, we are recruiting, we're using fat as energy versus glucose, which is what our body uses when we do more high intensity exercise. But aside from that part, walking is so great for our mental health. So that is another huge benefit and why walking helps with weight loss, in my opinion, at least. Like for me, my walks in my morning set the tone for the entire day. They lower my stress level. They get me in the right mindset to take on everything that's coming my way for the day. And that puts me in a very positive mental state. Again, like I said, it lowers my stress, and that plays such a huge role when it comes to weight loss and fat loss. I always tell everyone that if you think you are doing everything right, like you're doing the workouts, you got the food, you are sleeping well, the hydration, but you're at 3,000 to 4,000 steps every single day, that could just be the missing piece that you need in order to take your results to the next level. So yes, steps are important. That is why. Also, I think that a lot of people just walk like 10,000 steps a day without really knowing the why behind it. If you also think about how many calories you are burning, it's around 400 to 600 calories, again, depending on a lot of different factors that you are burning in addition every single day by hitting those 10,000 steps. That makes a really big difference in a week, in a month, in a year. So steps aren't just an overhyped Instagram trend. They are one of the ones that are real. So you don't need to hit 10,000 steps every single day. Don't stress yourself out trying to, especially if it's not necessarily conducive with your lifestyle. Just do the best that you can and move your body as much as you can throughout the day. That was a really great segue into the next part of my journey. I started to regulate my nervous system. So in my 20s, again, I did not focus on mindfulness. My nervous system was high because I was just like stressed, on the go, working late, drinking, partying, having so much fun, no regrets. But our nervous system can affect it basically affects everything within our body, right? Our digestion, our mood, our energy, our microbiome. I have a whole video on my SIBO 5 years ago now, so the end of my 20s, I had small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. There's so many different environmental factors that play into our gut health. There are, antibiotics that play a role with our gut health. There's so many different things now versus even from when our parents were young that contribute to an unhealthy gut, but also the lifestyle that majority of us are living, on the go, high performing, a million things happening at once, whether you're a mom or you're a working woman or even just someone in school. Like university is also stressful. All of these things, like we have so many things going on in our life. So we need to have outputs. If we're going to be high performing, we also need to be able to recover in a high performing way as well. So once I figured that out, once I started really realizing when I need to slow down and take those moments to maybe have a slower morning or put my phone away at 6 p.m. because I just had like a crazy week or a couple of crazy days, I am way more in tune with my body and how I feel and my nervous system so that I can make these little changes to downregulate and to get myself back at a steady state versus being in fight or flight all the time. And when we are in that stage, we hold on to inflammation, and that shows up as puffiness, as water retention, as bloating. So it's very important to figure out ways to stop overstimulating our bodies. Once I was able to make that shift and to really focus on that, my digestion was better, my SIBO, of course, I went through a whole protocol to help get rid of the SIBO, but managing my stress was part of the protocol. So my gut health got better. Even my recovery was easier after my workouts. I was getting less sore, which is great. We don't need to indicate being sore all the time with having a good workout. If you're actually working out properly and hard and not getting super sore, that just means that your body is able to recover better, which is really great. But also, this is when my body composition really did start to shift. This is something that most people honestly overlook, but when you do really dial in and focus on this aspect, this little piece of the puzzle, you will see and feel the change, honestly, almost immediately. The biggest difference between my 20s and now is that I am not trying to get in shape anymore. It is just happening seamlessly in my life. So for example, if you are in a relationship and you are forcing it all the time, if the other person doesn't want to be with you and you are like nonstop trying to contact them, call them, hang out with them and be with them, but like the more that you force, the more that you push them away, it's kind of the same thing when you're trying to feel good and see results. The more that you are actively trying to like force it and you're trying to burn more calories and restrict more and basically do more, the less results you're going to get. When you do less and you live in a way that supports your lifestyle, that is when the results come. And I hope that that is the biggest takeaway for all of you. I want you to know that you do not need to be doing the most in order to be the happiest, healthiest, and strongest version of you. Instead, let's dial it back to the basics. Let's focus on those foundations, because when you stop treating your routine like a temporary phase and start treating it as part of your actual lifestyle, everything changes. You stop starting over and you give your body a chance to actually respond and to feel good. In the end, I hope that sharing a little bit of my journey empowered you to start making the proper changes in your lifestyle that you may or may not need to make in order to also feel like you are at the best and strongest version of you. It's not about being small. It's not even necessarily about looking a certain way. We all have different goals and we all have different ideas of what a healthy body and a healthy life looks like. So again, it just comes back to incorporating the things, the habits that make you feel your best, but also ones that you enjoy, that you are able to be consistent with. And once you are consistent with those habits over time, those changes, those results will come. You just need to be patient. You just need to stick with them and know that eventually your body will respond. It's not about doing more. Like I said, it's about doing just the right things and doing it long enough to see the change. So I hope that you took something away from this. I hope that, again, me opening up and sharing was helpful for all of you. Let me know any other parts maybe of your transformation or of your journey, things that you've changed over time that are really working for you now, because I feel like as a community, we can always be sharing the little tips and tricks here and there for other people to benefit from as well. Thank you as always for being here. I will see you next time, and make sure to check out my latest video here. Bye guys.